Hi everyone, welcome to my kitchen. I'm Amy from Neurotic Mom Bakes, and today is a really good day. You've tried my cinnamon rolls and hopefully you've tried my orange rolls, but today we are doing Oreo rolls. This is my same cinnamon roll dough, only it has an Oreo filling and then an Oreo cream cheese topping, and it's so good. So if you like those cookies, you're going to love these. Okay, first we're gonna start with the basic dough, which is 1/2 cup of milk and 1/2 cup of heavy cream, and it's just lukewarm. And then I'm going to add 2 tablespoons of sugar and 1 tablespoon of yeast. If you are using instant yeast, you can just add it right to the bowl and go. It's already activated. If you're using active dry yeast, you just need to mix it in about a 1/4 cup of warm water that's about 110 degrees and let it sit and activate for about 5 minutes until it's bubbly. Then you can add it to this. I got my sugar in there. And my yeast. And then 1 teaspoon of salt. 1 egg, and then I have 4 tablespoons of salted butter that I'm going to melt and then add. So I'm gonna let that sit for just a second, and then I'm gonna add 1 cup of all-purpose flour. Now I'm starting with the whisk attachment, and I'm just gonna mix this all together, and then I'll switch to the bread attachment. Perfect. Okay, so now I'm just going to add all-purpose flour 1/2 cup at a time until I get the exact consistency that I want. In a drier climate, it's gonna be closer to 3 cups. In a more humid climate, it will be maybe closer to 4 cups. We're at 2.5, and then I'll check my dough. All right, let's check it. So what you're looking for is when you touch it, you don't want it to stick to your fingers, and it should slide cleanly off the hook, and your bowl should look pretty clean. We're not there yet, so we're gonna add some more flour really gradually until we get to that stage. Just go slow. You don't want to overdo it. You don't want a tough dough. If you add too much flour, it's too tough and your texture won't be as good. Okay, we're getting closer. Let's take a look. It's better. Still a little sticky, and it still is sticking to the hook. So I'm going to add about 3 cups right there. Let's see what that does. Okay, so I live in Utah, which is a dry desert climate, and usually 3 cups is plenty. However, it's been raining for 2 straight days, so it's really humid. So this is a perfect example of how you need to adjust your flour. So I'm at 3 cups and it's still not ready. It's still sticky. So it's just a little more humid here. So I'm gonna just go a little bit more. There's about maybe 2 tablespoons more. Yep, that's what I'm looking for. Okay, so today with a little bit more humidity in the air, I needed about 3¼ cups of flour. That is perfect. My bowl is mostly clean, and it just forms a nice solid piece of dough. Now we're gonna do some kneading. Okay, I'm just gonna knead the dough for about 5 minutes until it passes the window pane test. And if you've watched my other recipes with bread that uses yeast, you'll know what that means. I will explain it if you're new here. What we're doing when we're kneading is we're just developing the gluten in the flour. And you want the gluten to develop because it makes the dough more stringy, has more strands, and it just gives a better rise and a lighter and fluffier texture in your breads. anything that uses yeast. So my machine already did some of the kneading for me. And you can leave it in there and have it do some more. However, I actually like this. I like kneading my dough. Okay, let's test this out. My window is closed there, but I have a bright light right here. What you're gonna do is you're just gonna take a piece of dough and you're gonna stretch it. And if you can see the light through the dough before it breaks, it's ready. See how far I'm stretching that? And you can see the light and it's not broken yet? That's pretty good. That's gonna be good. I'm just gonna form it into a ball. And we're going to do the first rise. I'm gonna place it in a bowl that's been lightly greased, cover it with plastic. If you can find a warm spot in your home, put it there, it'll rise a little faster, but you want this to double in size, so it'll take about 30 to 45 minutes. Okay, now we're ready to make our delicious Oreo filling for these Oreo rolls. We're gonna start by actually opening these cookies up and scraping out the white part, because you're gonna use that later. And then just put the cookie in your blender. You don't need to do the whole pack. You just wanna get, you know how that filling is just so good when you're a kid, you'd open it up and just lick the filling out? We're just gonna add that to our cream cheese frosting, just to give it that little bit of extra Oreo flavor. So just however many of these you want to scrape out, feel free to do the whole pack if you want, or just a few, or not at all. Honestly, you could just do the cream cheese frosting. But I love this added element. I will set this aside for later. And I'm gonna add a few more just regular Oreos to this, because I need about 1.5 to 2 cups of Oreo crumbs. In our bowl, I'm going to put 1/4 cup of melted salted butter, and then 1/2 cup of brown sugar, and a couple tablespoons of cocoa. I have just enough left. Perfect. I'm just gonna kind of stir this together. And then I'm just gonna start adding the Oreo crumbs a little at a time until I get like a paste. I'm so sorry, I was wrong on my measurements. It's 1/2 cup of butter and 1/2 cup of brown sugar. So I'm gonna get that melted. Actually, you know what? I really think I only needed a tablespoon or 2 more. I just kind of go back and forth until I get the consistency I want. Save some of these. You're gonna need them for some topping and for also sprinkling onto our dough. I think that's gonna be perfect. I just want you to see the consistency right here. It's kind of like a paste, a thick paste. And that's perfect. I'm gonna set that aside. Okay, now it's time for our frosting. Remember those Oreo fillings? This is where you're gonna use them. So I'm gonna add them to 4 ounces of cream cheese, and I'm going to kind of almost melt this in the microwave. There we go. Just barely warmed up enough where I can just kind of stir it into a soft mixture there. And I'm just gonna put it in a bowl, and I'm going to add 3 to 4 cups of powdered sugar. There's 1, there's 2. I'm gonna start with 2. And a teaspoon of vanilla. Let's mix this up and see where we're at. Perfect. Okay, I'm gonna add another cup of powdered sugar. I just don't like to add it all at once or it just goes flying everywhere. So there's about 3 cups. just how I want it. And now I'm gonna add 1 to 2 tablespoons of milk just until I get the consistency I want. If you like a thicker frosting, you can leave it as is. If you like it thinner, add maybe 3 tablespoons of milk. Oh, that's pretty good. I think I'm gonna leave that. I like that. Okay, now we'll just wait for our Oreo rolls. My dough here is nice and fluffy. It's risen in size, about double, and I'm going to get some flour and generously flour my surface, and we will roll this out. First, the best part, punch it down, pull it out. I'm gonna do my best to roll it into a rectangle shape, and the thinner you can roll it, the better, I think, because there's more surface area to get more filling. And it's all about the filling. Another trick about dough, yeast dough, is if you find it's kind of bouncing, springing back after you roll it, just let it rest for like 10 minutes and then start rolling again, and it should be more cooperative. Here's my filling. I went to check on it. It's just, if you find it's a little dry still, you can just add more butter, more melted butter, and that will fix it easily. Okay, now we're just gonna spread this all over the dough. Sometimes this one's just easier to use your fingers. Okay, now remember those Oreo crumbs that we saved? Now you can just sprinkle a few of those crumbs all over the filling. Okay, let's roll. I'm gonna start on the long end this time because I want a few more cinnamon rolls that are a little bit shallower, a little bit shorter. However, if you want to roll the short way, you'll get taller but fewer cinnamon rolls. So it just depends on what you want. Nice and tight. Okay, I've got my pan here, and I've lined it with parchment paper and then sprayed it with some cooking spray. And then you know how I love to use floss. So I'm gonna go about 1 inch to 1.25 inches around. All right, I got 13 out of this bunch, so I'm gonna kind of just arrange it so I can get that last one in. Spread them apart a little bit. We're gonna do a second rise, so they're gonna grow a little bit. There we go. Okay, I'm just gonna cover this with the cloth and put it in a warm place or just on your countertop for 30 to 60 minutes until, again, they are double in size. Okay. So here are my Oreo rolls. You can see they've doubled in size, and I'm going to put them in a 325-degree oven for about 20 to 25 minutes until they're golden brown, and they will grow even more in the oven so that the whole pan will be filled. Okay, here they are. I have let them cool for about 5 to 10 minutes before I put the glaze on, and I'm gonna go ahead and do that right now. You don't want it so hot that the glaze just runs right off, but you want it still warm. That just makes the spreading a lot easier. And we're just gonna spread this around. Oh, that looks so good. Don't worry if you get Oreo crumbs in here, because we're gonna sprinkle more Oreos on top. Beautiful. Okay, now, just as a finishing touch, I have some Oreo pieces here. These aren't the crumbs. These are like bigger pieces that I just crushed with the rolling pin while they were in a baggie. So I have some big pieces of Oreo here on top. All right, there, we're finished. This is a huge crowd pleaser. This would be awesome to bring to a party or a get together. If you love Oreos, you are going to love these. You've got to give them a try for yourself and let me know what you think. And if you want to see more stuff like this, just make sure you like, comment, and subscribe to my channel. See ya.